Imagine living in a state of complete calm, where no harsh words, obstacles, or even chaos around you can affect you. This is the main purpose of Stoicism, to make your mind an impregnable fortress. It's not about hiding from the world or avoiding challenges, but facing them with courage and discernment without being disturbed. After all, the external world will never have dominion over you if your mind is fortified. How many times have you lost your peace over something trivial or allowed other people's actions to steal your joy? The truth is, reacting impulsively only weakens us. When you choose not to let things affect you, you discover the true power that lies in controlling your emotions and actions. As the great Stoic thinkers taught, it's not what happens, but how you choose to interpret what happens that defines your experience. Being unshakable is a skill you can learn, a muscle you can strengthen, and that's what we'll explore today. Through 8 Stoic lessons, you will learn to act as if nothing can shake you. Each lesson is an essential piece in building this mental armor that will allow you to navigate life's storms with determination and clarity. These are practical strategies, timeless teachings, and secrets that can change how you face any situation. If you want to master the art of being unshakable, this is the moment. Before we start, leave a like so more people can access this transformative content. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any Stoic lessons. And here's a challenge. Comment the secret phrase of the day in the comments. Nothing will hit me. This way, you not only reinforce the learning, but also show your commitment to growth. Let's go on this journey together. 1. The invisible shield. Protect yourself from the inner enemy. The greatest battle you face is not in the external world, but within your own mind. We are our greatest critics, often allowing uncontrolled thoughts and emotions to dominate us and rob our peace. Stoicism teaches us that the origin of suffering rarely lies in events, but in the interpretations we make of them. As Epictetus said, it's not things that disturb us, but the judgments we make of them. With this understanding, we realize that by changing how we interpret the world, we can build an invisible shield against any adversity. Think of a recent situation where you felt shaken. Perhaps it was a criticism at work, a negative comment on social media, or an argument with someone close. What was your initial reaction? Probably a flood of thoughts arose. Why are they doing this to me? Or, I don't deserve this. This flow of thoughts is not something we can avoid, but we can learn to recognize it and control it before it consumes us. Building the invisible shield begins here, with the awareness that you are the guardian of your mind. This shield is not something that appears overnight. It is forged through the daily practice of challenging automatic thoughts and asking yourself, does this really deserve my attention? For example, if someone insults you, you have 2 options. Absorb the words and let yourself be hurt, or realize that words only have power if you give them importance. The insult is just empty noise unless you allow it to enter your mental fortress. The Stoics also teach us to separate what is under our control from what is not. Your reaction to an event is under your control. The event itself is not. When you accept this, you realize you can choose peace, even amid chaos. Imagine a shield that not only blocks external attacks, but reflects them back as if they never occurred. This shield is your ability to decide what enters your mind and what is rejected. Practice not identifying with your own thoughts and emotions. Often we believe we are our thoughts, a mistake that can lead us to act impulsively. In reality, you are not the thoughts that arise, but the observer behind them. When you observe your thoughts with curiosity, rather than judgment, you create space to choose how to respond. This is empowering and an essential part of Stoic training. To apply this lesson in practice, start today by reflecting on situations that would normally take your peace away. When a problem arises, ask yourself, is this under my control? Does this thought or emotion reflect reality or my interpretation of it? This constant self-analysis is what strengthens your invisible shield and makes you resilient to life's storms. In the end, you will realize that the greatest enemy is not what happens, but what you believe about what happens. Being unshakable is not denying emotions or avoiding problems, but being fully aware that you have the power not to be hit by anything you don't allow. This strength, when cultivated, transforms how you experience life and puts you in control of your own narrative. Start building your invisible shield today. 2. The sovereign of silence. Master the art of not retaliating. Responding with silence is one of the most undervalued, yet one of the most effective tactics you can employ in your existence. In today's world, we are incessantly provoked to retaliate, whether through social media, where every opinion seems to demand an immediate retort, or in our personal relationships, where the desire to have the final word dominates our interactions. But what if you could choose not to retaliate? What if instead you chose silence as a sign of strength and not of weakness? Stoicism reveals to us that not retaliating is a deliberate act of self-mastery. Imagine someone insulting you in public. The common reaction of many would be to insult back, raise their voice, or explain themselves. However, by retaliating, you give emotional control to the other. When you choose silence, you demonstrate that it is you who commands your actions, not the adverse stimulus. It's a way of declaring, without saying a word, "I am not a puppet of your provocations." Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This strength lies in control. Silence is not just the absence of words, but a space where you can observe, ponder, and decide how or if it's worth reacting. Silence, therefore, is about gaining time to reflect, to observe your own emotions, and to avoid impulsive reactions that are often driven by anger or frustration. Silence can disarm the adversary. When someone is expecting a reaction, whether of anger or defense, and doesn't receive the expected, it's like throwing cold water on fire. Silence interrupts the cycle of aggression. It transforms a possible confrontation into a moment of reflection for both sides. Perhaps the other person, upon not receiving a response, realizes that their behavior is inappropriate or pointless, and if they don't realize, it doesn't matter. You preserved your tranquility. But mastering silence doesn't mean avoiding necessary confrontations or shirking responsibilities. There are times when speaking is essential, when silence can be interpreted as omission or disinterest. However, even in these moments, silence before speaking is crucial. It allows you to formulate a thoughtful response, aligned with your values and goals, rather than simply reacting to the emotion of the moment. In practice, mastering silence requires training. The next time you feel the urge to react immediately, whether to a harsh comment, a provocation, or an annoying situation, pause. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, does this response really contribute to something? Will it change the situation or just intensify the problem? In many cases, you will realize that the best response is none. Also, remember that silence is not just a tool in conflict situations, but also a way to connect with yourself. Calmness, whether external or internal, creates space for introspection and self-awareness. By cultivating moments of silence in your life, you learn to listen to your own mind and distinguish between what is essential and what is noise. In the end, being the sovereign of silence is not about being silent out of weakness, but speaking only when necessary and in a wise manner. It is a skill few possess, but all admire. True strength lies in knowing you can react, but choosing not to. This is the power of being unshakable. 3. The art of disdain. Choose to ignore the irrelevant. Not everything deserves your attention. This is a truth that many know, but few apply. We live in a world where we are constantly bombarded by stimuli, news, opinions, criticisms, praise. But in Stoicism, wisdom lies in knowing what to let in, and more importantly, what to let pass by. The ability to disdain what doesn't matter is one of the most effective tools to achieve inner peace. Disdain is not about arrogance or superiority. It's not about rejecting people or situations, but rather protecting your mind from everything that is irrelevant to your journey. Think of a stone in the middle of a river. It doesn't fight against the current, but is also not carried away by it. Similarly, you must learn to observe what happens around you without becoming emotionally involved in everything. The Stoic is not insensitive but selective. He values his mental energy as a precious resource. How many times have you wasted time worrying about something that, deep down, didn't make any sense? Intelligent disdain is the antidote to these drains. Ignoring is not weakness, it's wisdom. When you consciously choose where to place your attention, you are asserting that only what truly matters will have space in your life. Seneca, one of the great Stoic masters, wrote, "Nothing is more worthy of disdain than caring about the disdain of others." This phrase teaches us that worrying about what others think or say is often a trap for our minds. When you allow yourself to be affected by others' opinions, you give your power to them. It's like carrying a suitcase full of stones that aren't yours. Letting go of this weight is liberating. Practicing the art of disdain involves 3 simple steps. First, ask yourself, will this matter a year from now? If the answer is no, discard it. Second, identify what is truly significant to you. If a situation or comment doesn't contribute to your values or goals, don't let it steal your peace. Third, practice emotional detachment. This doesn't mean you don't care, but that you don't allow the external to determine how you feel internally. By applying this lesson, you will notice that your mind becomes lighter and your energy more focused. You start to distinguish the essential from the superficial, separating what deserves your attention from what should be ignored. After all, as Epictetus taught, we cannot control others' actions, only how we react to them. This clarity is the foundation for living with more freedom and serenity. Make the art of disdain a daily habit. Ignore unfounded provocations, unnecessary dramas, and distractions that add nothing. Reserve your energy for what truly makes a difference in your life. You are not meant to fight every battle. You are meant to win the ones that truly matter. Choose wisely. 4. The immutable perspective. Reflect beyond the immediate. What seems unbearable today will tomorrow be merely a distant echo. This is one of the great certainties of Stoicism and also one of the most impactful tools for overcoming obstacles. When you face a challenge, it is common to get lost in the intensity of the moment, believing that the pain, discomfort, or frustration is perpetual. However, the Stoic looks beyond the present. He understands that everything in life is transitory, that today's storm does not shape tomorrow, and that in the end, everything fades with time. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most notable emperors and Stoic thinkers, teaches us, if it is endurable, then endure it. This simple yet profound teaching encapsulates the essence of a resilient mind. The Stoic does not deny suffering. He acknowledges its presence but also knows that suffering is limited. He realizes that challenges, no matter how severe they seem, have an expiration date. This vision broadens the mental horizon and makes us understand that the now is only a fraction of the whole. Imagine a storm. When we are in its midst, it seems like it will never cease. However, inevitably the storm dissipates, the sky opens, and tranquility returns. Such are life's adversities. When you train your mind to see beyond the present, you realize you are closer to the solution than you suppose. This way of thinking not only brings emotional relief, but also clarity to make more prudent decisions. A Stoic does not drown in his emotions. He navigates them, aware that soon he will find calm waters. An effective practice for developing this immutable perspective is to question yourself. Will this problem still be relevant a year from now? and 5 years from now? This reflection puts the current moment in perspective and lessens the emotional burden. What seemed like an insurmountable crisis may actually be just a minor obstacle. This ability to resize problems is one of Stoicism's great strengths, and an advantage for those who wish to act as if nothing can shake them. Thinking beyond the now does not mean ignoring the present, but observing the present with an expanded view. It's like looking at a map. While many get lost in the maze of momentary emotions, the Stoic climbs a hill and visualizes the entire path. This ability to distance oneself emotionally allows one to see more clearly and make more rational decisions. To apply this lesson, training is necessary. Moments of meditation and introspection are essential. For a few minutes a day, visualize a problem you are facing and project yourself into the future. Imagine how you, in the future, will look at this moment. Often, what seems so big today will be something small and even irrelevant over time. Finally, remember, the key to overcoming any challenge lies in how you interpret it. When you think beyond the now, you realize you have much more strength and internal resources than you imagine. The Stoic knows that life is made of cycles, and that even the greatest storms pass. Like the horizon, it is always ahead. Move forward with serenity and confidence. After all, what seems like an insurmountable obstacle today will tomorrow be just another step in your journey of growth. 5. The burden of expectations. Free yourself from the need for control. We all have expectations. We create scenarios in our minds about how things should happen, how people should behave, and how the world should react to our efforts. But it is precisely in this desire for control that much of human suffering resides. When we expect everything to happen exactly as planned, we become prisoners of a world that never was and never will be entirely predictable. In Stoicism, the focus is on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, our decisions. Everything beyond that is considered external, something that should not consume our energy or determine our inner peace. Think of how many times you have been disappointed because something didn't happen as you wanted. Perhaps it was a promotion at work that didn't come through, a person who didn't meet your expectations, or even a plan that failed. The problem was not the event itself, but the weight you attributed to it. This happens because, by creating rigid expectations, you place your well-being in the hands of something you cannot control. The Stoic, however, learns to accept what happens as an inevitable part of life, while directing his attention to what is within his reach. Free yourself from the habit of trying to control others. Each person has their own journey, and you cannot force anyone to act according to your expectations. This applies to colleagues, partners, friends, and even family members. Frustration arises when we want others to be different from who they are. But, as Marcus Aurelius said, begin each day by remembering that you will encounter ungrateful, dishonest, envious, and rude people. This should not surprise you. Accepting this reality is not pessimism, but wisdom. When you stop demanding that the world and people be as you would like, you create space for true peace. A powerful practice to overcome the burden of expectations is to ask yourself, does this depend on me? If the answer is yes, do your best. If the answer is no, let it go. For example, you can control the effort you put into your work, but not your boss's reaction. You can be kind to people, but not control whether they reciprocate. This simple distinction is what separates anxiety from freedom. When you free yourself from the need for control, you discover something amazing. The things that once seemed enormous become small, and your energy is redirected to what truly matters. You realize that expectations are like invisible chains that bind you to suffering. Releasing these chains is a choice. Choose to invest your energy in what you can change, yourself. True control was never in the external world. It was always in how you choose to react, interpret, and live the experiences that come your way. Peace is not found in a perfect world, but in a mind that accepts imperfection with wisdom. 6. The power of ice. Find tranquility in adversity. In Stoicism, adversity is not seen as something to be avoided, but as a moment for evolution. Learning to face adversity instead of escaping it is one of the most impactful lessons you can incorporate into your life. The intentional exercise of placing yourself in front of what is uncomfortable, both physically and emotionally, strengthens your spirit, making it more resilient and fit to overcome any challenges. The Stoic understands that adversity is temporary, but the strength gained by overcoming it is lasting. Imagine a cold morning where getting out of bed seems to be the hardest challenge of the day. The Stoic does not hesitate. He sees in the cold water of the shower or the walk in a hostile climate an opportunity to test the limits of his mind. By facing physical discomfort, he cultivates discipline and control over himself. This exercise may seem trivial, but it carries a profound teaching. Our mind is much more powerful than we imagine. When you get used to moderate doses of discomfort, you develop a kind of mental armor against life's bigger challenges. This philosophy also extends to emotional challenges. Conflicts and losses are inevitable, but do not have to be debilitating. Seneca stated that we must prepare for the worst, not as pessimists, but as strategists. Face life's trials as training for the soul. Just as an athlete strengthens his muscles to withstand greater loads, you strengthen your spirit by facing hard emotions. Instead of dodging, ask yourself, what can this challenge teach me? This shift in perspective transforms each obstacle into a stepping stone for personal development. Exposing yourself to discomfort in a planned way is a means of becoming more immune to external pressures. Practices like intermittent fasting, intense physical exercise, or even renouncing certain material comforts demonstrate that luxury does not determine your happiness. By choosing to give up something temporarily, you realize you need less than you thought. This awareness reduces dependence on external elements and expands your emotional autonomy. Learning to find peace in adversity is liberating. When you understand that life does not need to be comfortable all the time, you stop fearing the unpredictable. Imagine the impact of this in your daily life. A colleague's criticism would not be able to shake your confidence. A difficult day at work would not be enough to destroy your mood. This inner strength translates into calmness in the face of difficulties. The practice of adversity also rescues the power of the present moment. By facing uncomfortable situations, your mind focuses entirely on the now, disconnecting from future anxieties or past regrets. This is one of adversity's greatest virtues. It teaches us to live more consciously and connected. Embrace the ice as your ally. Do not run from discomfort, seek it strategically. Face physical challenges, accept emotional difficulties, and renounce certain comforts by choice. By doing so, you will not only find peace in chaos, but become the very embodiment of Stoic resilience. Adversity is not your enemy. It is your teacher. 7. The value of detachment. Not everything is about you. Not everything that happens around you is a direct reflection of who you are. Much of the suffering we carry comes from our tendency to personalize events and others' actions, as if everything were intentionally directed at us. This habit of interpreting events through the filter of me makes us vulnerable, trapped in an emotional snare. Stoicism teaches us that cultivating detachment is an act of emotional intelligence and proof of inner strength. Imagine a common situation. Someone makes a harsh comment or acts hostilely toward you. Naturally, your reaction might be irritation or sadness, believing that this attitude was a personal attack. However, consider for a moment that often people act driven by their own internal conflicts, stress, or ignorance, not by something related to you. As Seneca said, we are often more affected by our imagination than by reality, meaning the impact of an action is directly linked to how you choose to interpret it. When you understand that not everything revolves around you, you discover a freedom that few attain. But what is detachment in Stoicism? It is not apathy, nor is it a lack of empathy. Detachment means not overreacting to external stimuli that are irrelevant to your peace or purpose. It is a conscious decision not to be carried away by the heat of the moment. It is a state of clarity that separates what matters from what is trivial, keeping the focus on what truly makes a difference. When you realize that you have the power to choose how to react, or even not to react, you gain control over yourself. A practical example of Stoic detachment can be seen on social media. How many times have you seen someone being criticized or attacked virtually? If the attacked person chooses not to react, often the situation dissolves on its own. This happens because the reaction fuels the conflict, while detachment empties it. By ignoring the attack, the person maintains dignity and preserves their inner peace. However, reacting impulsively can lead to an endless cycle of aggression and hurt. Now, how to cultivate this practical detachment? First, recognize that others' opinions and actions do not define your worth. External approval is not necessary for your happiness. Remember, what others think or do is a reflection of them, not you. Second, practice the pause. When something bothers you, do not react immediately. Take a deep breath, analyze the situation with serenity, and ask yourself, does this really matter to my life? Finally, train your focus. Direct your energy only to what is under your control. Everything else should be treated as noise. Detachment is not about ignoring people or situations around you, but about protecting your mind from being captured by unnecessary chaos. The more you practice, the more you'll realize that most things that irritated, worried, or hurt you simply weren't worth your attention. Adopting this practice in your life is like installing an emotional filter. Only what is valuable, constructive, and significant passes through it. Everything else is discarded. When you master the value of detachment, you discover a peace that does not depend on external circumstances. Be an observer, not a sponge that absorbs everything around you. The world will continue to act chaotically, but you can choose not to participate in this tumult. Detachment is the key to walking through life with serenity, without wearing yourself out with what in the end doesn't matter. 8. The poison of comparison. Focus only on your own path. Comparison is one of the greatest enemies of inner serenity. It pushes us into an endless race, striving to meet standards that often don't belong to us or don't even exist. In Stoicism, the principle of living according to your essence is crucial. Each individual has a distinct path, with challenges, abilities, and possibilities that should not be measured by someone else's yardstick. However, in a world where we are incessantly bombarded by others' achievements and seemingly ideal lives, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing our backstage with someone else's shining stage. Marcus Aurelius stated, "Do not waste what you have by desiring what you do not have." This lesson warns us that comparison robs us of the present. By observing another person's success or happiness and feeling behind, you disregard the victories and progress you have already achieved. The neighbor's garden may seem greener, but we rarely reflect on the effort they put into maintaining it, or if that garden is even real. After all, external luster often conceals invisible battles. Comparison distances us from our truth. Every time you measure yourself by someone else's success, you're abandoning your own journey. The Stoic understands that the only valid comparison is with who you were the day before. If you are striving to improve a little each day, you are already succeeding. Reflect. What do you gain by comparing your journey to another's? Does it motivate or demotivate you? Usually the result is anxiety, frustration, and a sense of inadequacy. These emotions have no place in Stoicism, as they only divert attention from what truly matters: personal growth. Imagine an athlete running on a track. If he constantly looks at the other competitors, he loses focus and rhythm. He cannot control their performance, but he can manage his own. This is how we should live. When you focus only on your path, you begin to value every small victory and understand that your progress happens in its own time. Some reach the peak early, others later, and it doesn't matter. The essential thing is to keep moving forward. Comparison often rests on illusions. On social media, for example, people only display the happy moments, the victories, and the successes. This creates a false impression that their lives are perfect, but no one shows the defeats, the tough days, or the inevitable failures. Comparing yourself to something so distorted is unfair to yourself. You're not competing with a reality. You're competing with a fantasy. To combat this poison, practice gratitude for what you already have. Whenever you feel envy or frustration when seeing someone else's life, pause and reflect on the good things you've already achieved. Reinforce your internal focus by asking yourself, how can I evolve from where I am now? Stoicism does not preach ignorance of progress, but concentration on personal progress without being distracted by others' advancement. Remember that your journey is unique. There is no competition because there are no two lives alike. When you understand this, you discover freedom. If you've made it this far, congratulations. This demonstrates that you are committed to transforming your mind into a true stronghold. It's not easy, I know. We live in a world full of distractions and pressures, but that is precisely why applying these Stoic lessons is so crucial. They are practical tools to act as if nothing can shake you. And believe me, when you implement these ideas, your life will never be the same. If this content resonated with you, leave your like right now. It helps the channel reach more people who also need this impactful message. Additionally, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive the next Stoic lessons. This way, you continue strengthening your mind day by day, together with us. And for those who stayed until the end, I have a special request. Comment below the phrase, "I stayed until the end." I want to know who is truly committed to their evolution and who is part of this incredible community. Each comment makes a difference and shows that we are together on this Stoic journey. So, what are you waiting for? Leave your comment, your like, and come be part of this transformation. See you in the next video.